I'm joined now by Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
So as I think most people watching might know, there was a little bit of a blow up, a spat between you and Nancy Mace at this latest Oversight Committee meeting. Here's a quick clip of that.
Somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, trans, trans so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or
Do
not
call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
will.
am reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
Chairman, I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman, the committee is not
Okay.
in order.
All right. Order.
Congresswoman, what's your reaction to being the latest target of Nancy Mace's, I guess what's now her weekly bit of manufactured outrage?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if people can't see the writing on the wall, it is clear that number one, she's an unserious lawmaker. And number two, that she will do anything for clicks and anything for money. That is what it's about. And the fact that I was calling her out because I was simply trying to present an amendment that would bring back the Civil Rights and Liberties Subcommittee, which is a subcommittee that historically has been a longstanding subcommittee of the Oversight Committee, but it's a subcommittee that would be committed to all of our civil rights, all of our freedoms. And the fact is, she decided to respond and start talking about, women being raped by trans folk. And I don't even know where she got that from, but I'm like, that's not even what we're talking about. And I made it clear that she has truly found out that if she talks about trans people, then people will donate to her. Right. And so I was calling that out, and then she decided she wanted to get an attitude and tried to threaten an actual fight. Now, when the rubber met the road, and basically we said that that's out of line and you can't threaten violence, then all of a sudden, she could have meant that, she just wanted y'all to go outside and have coffee.
Yeah,
so
right. Go outside for a smoke, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to move that that's a violation. Like, listen, I don't know who y'all think I am, and I know y'all try to play me for dumb because I'm black and or because I'm woman. But the reality is that I know what she meant by it, just like she know what she meant by it. But the reality is that she's nothing more than a coward because she truly believes, again, that this is an opportunity for her to raise money. So I'm sure the emails have already gone out. I'm sure she was sending a text message while we were sitting in committee and said, let's go ahead and raise money off of this. But her threatening violence, that is what gives license to the crazy MAGA followers, where she's doing it to get a few dollars. And the reality is that my staff has to listen to the death threats that real crazies follow behind her and give when I'm literally just trying to make sure that this country works for everybody and not just those that elected me.
The irony of this is she purposefully misinterpreted you saying child, which is just a term of endearment. It's like me saying bro. I don't think anybody's going to actually think that I think that they're my brother by virtue of saying it. It's just a word that people say. So she does the whole manufactured outrage bit, pretends that she's upset about being called a child, but then immediately goes on to prove exactly that thesis, prove why she is a child, prove the very thing that she's claiming she's not. And so is there any acknowledgement from even her own colleagues that she is doing exactly that she's proving she's the very thing she claims not to be?
No, I mean, listen, I think that there are certain people that are on their own islands, and Nancy Mace is one of those when it comes to the Republican Party. She's on her own island. She's doing her own thing. We know that McCarthy wanted to get her out. We know that she's not really what I would consider to be one of those that is beloved by the Republican caucus. And so she's found out, though, that by following in the footsteps of Marjorie, because that's exactly what she's doing, is let me just say the most ridiculous things I can, and I can raise money. And that is why she's decided, she was talking about trans folk in the bathrooms. I don't know for how long, and talking about how she's scared to go in the bathroom. Last time I checked, in the rules package that they passed with the Republican speaker, they said no trans women in the bathrooms.
But
so
that's the thing.
Of?
They can't allow the dog to catch the car because then they have nothing to complain about. It's the reason that Republicans refused to pass the border bill that they themselves claimed that they wanted in the 118th Congress because they don't want to solve the problems because then they would prevent themselves from having a problem to run on.
Exactly.
And so First of all, just a quick note. I think there is some irony in the fact that she tried to pick a fight when her last bit of manufactured outrage just the previous week was her pretending that she needed her arm in a sling because a handshake injured her. So for that person to go around picking fights is probably a little misguided.
Correct.
But the second thing that I wanted to bring up is, isn't it bizarre for her to go out on a limb and pretend that she is some champion for women's rights when her whole identity is really predicated on her allegiance to Donald Trump, who has more than 24 sexual assault allegations leveled against him, when he was just found guilty and convicted of 34 felony counts for charges related to a hush money payout for an affair he had while his wife was at home with their infant son. A judge came forward and said that he raped E. Jean Carroll. So on issue after issue after issue, does the cognitive dissonance count for nothing here?
No, I mean, listen, they play on the ignorance of those that support them. That's all it is. This is cosplay for them. You know, when Democrats run for office, we really believe in actual policies. We believe in government. We believe in governance. They don't. Everything that they do is about tearing us apart, whether it's about tearing the very government that they have sworn that they are going to protect and participate in and serve. They are trying to tear away our foundation, which is the Constitution. I mean, they don't believe the things that they say. Think about the fact that they're like, oh, we're going to kick all the immigrants out. And now they're outraged because they're like, wait a minute. Elon said he want to bring more immigrants in. Right. And they're like, yeah, it's good for business. This is what we're trying to do because y'all aren't, and when I say y'all, I'm talking about MAGA, y'all aren't intelligent enough to do the jobs that we need done, as you are all saying, yeah, get rid of the Department of Education. And you're the very ones that need it. So yes, everything is about cosplay. So no, she is not a champion for women. She is someone that likes to say it. But when it comes down to walking the walk, she's not doing it. That is why I wanted to emphasize that the data and the science is on our side. When we say we're protecting women, it's not just in our words, it's in our legislation. It's in the fact that we believe that women have a right to choose, because I can look at how many women are dying or being subjected to death right now in my home state of Texas. I also decided to bring out the fact that our ridiculous governor, I didn't talk about this specific part of it, but our ridiculous governor, Governor Abbott, said when we were looking at trying to figure out how we were going to protect women as it relates to, say, those maybe that are being raped, because we have no exceptions for abortion in the state of Texas. He said, oh, that's okay, I'm gonna get rid of rapists. Right. Well, next thing you know, we
how's that going?
26,000 women with reported rapes in the first year in the overturning of the Roe decision. So you tell me how pro-life you are. You tell me what Christian values you have, especially when you're out here talking about just making up random stuff, because no trans person has ever attacked her in a bathroom or tried to rape her. That has just never happened. So the fact that you want to put this out there in committee and to stoke this fear about something that you know that your base does not understand, does not choose to understand, is wrong.
Well, look, there is a part of me that understands the incentive structure for these Republicans to do this while they're in the minority. It's not like any legislation is getting passed with split control of government anyway. But now that Republicans are in the majority, one might think that they would have a little bit more incentive to actually get the shit done that they want to get done, as opposed to pulling these stunts that are only intended to get them attention when nothing else can be done. And so what does it say that really nothing has changed from when Republicans had no control of government to when they have full control of government, with Donald Trump getting sworn in a few days, that still Nancy Mace and people like her, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and Nancy Maces of the party, have to rely on this kind of bullshit, basically, instead of really trying to get anything serious done for their constituents?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Listen, but these guys are going to be failures. We know that. Right now, Mike Johnson is going to have to be perfect. And if there's anybody in Congress that ain't perfect, I'm going to say pick any Republican you want to on that side, right? Because the reality is that the numbers are about to come down to 217 to 215. This means that literally they have to stand together lockstep, and every single one of them will have to vote for their mandate that they keep telling us that they have, that the American people have given them, completely ignoring the fact that so many American people, a lot of Democrats, just decided to stay home. You don't have a mandate, but if that's what you believe, then get it done, homie, because I'm not here to help you tear away other folks' rights. So we will see what happens, but if they are going to have to rely on Democrats, or they're just going to have to be perfect, because if one of them decides to go the other way, then that means that it fails. So I am looking forward to seeing them get their mandate agenda across the finish line. But let me tell you, if they end up banning trans folk in sports, which I think the numbers are in the 0.00 percentages of trans folk that actually play sports, if they somehow succeed, then what is it you're going to campaign on in 2 years?
Right.
Tell me, what you going to campaign on?
There's a part of me that's like, they're going to get somebody to tank it at the last second, just because they can't deprive themselves of this as a campaign issue that was so potent in 2024. Finally, let's finish off with this. You come from a state that's often the unfortunate recipient of natural disasters. There was a freeze in Texas a couple years ago that Ted Cruz had skittered away from. There's obviously hurricanes that have very recently hit places like Houston.
We had major fires. We had major fires in Texas. I know that's where you're going.
I'm coming to you right now from Los Angeles. Obviously, we're contending with the Palisades fire, the Eden fire, and a number of others. There is right now worry that Republicans, with their new majority, are going to condition aid to California. And of course, this is being pushed not only by Donald Trump, but somebody like Mike Johnson, who, by the way, is from the state of Louisiana. Of all states where it might not be that smart to establish the precedent of conditioning aid, relief aid, it might be Louisiana among the top of them. So do you have any indication of whether they're serious about this, or the pushback that Democrats are going to be able to build up in the face of these threats by Republicans?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, because I don't know the current makeup of the Rules Committee, and I don't know who's going to be what and which way they will go. So one of the really big issues that they had in the 118th Congress is that they had a bunch of their obstructionists on rules. And so while they may be voting with Democrats for different reasons, they weren't necessarily with us, but it was the same vote, right? And so therefore they had to put a lot of things on suspension. So I don't really know what the dynamics are going to look like and if we end up in that scenario. But let me tell you, the first thing that I want to tell you, I am so sorry for what everyone in California is going through. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And that is coming from a Texan, but more importantly, that is coming from someone who considers herself a U.S. representative before anything else. And I can tell you that while Tennessee can't never vote the right way, as far as I'm concerned, while Florida ain't been right since the hanging chads, while North Carolina, every once in a while may get it right, and while Georgia, for sure, we never know which way Georgia's going to go, but historically has gone the wrong way more often than not. I can tell you that when it came down to that aid, there was not any portion of me that said, you know what, based upon how y'all voting, I'm not going to support that.
Yeah.
Because as U.S. representatives, by the time the election is over, we should be focused on doing what is right for those that are in the United States. And so it doesn't matter that y'all vote the wrong way. It doesn't matter to me, all of those things. What matters is what does it look like to do right? And for those that believe that they somehow have been sent here by God himself and believe that they somehow are God's right hand, let me tell you, as the child of a preacher, that this is not what you are supposed to do if you really consider yourself to be a child of God. At the end of the day, we should be looking out for Americans, regardless of the fact that the state as a whole may understand that we would have been better off having a Kamala Harris as president. So no, I am absolutely going to do everything that I can in defense of those that have been victimized. And a lot of it has truly been based upon the failed policy beliefs of them saying climate change ain't real. It is real. It is here. It is impacting all of us. And one of the things that I have said over and over, as we had to listen to the idiots like Marjorie Taylor Greene, as she continued to say that somehow Democrats were controlling the weather, and that is the reason that we ended up with the storms that we had that hit the East Coast. The reality is that if Democrats control the weather, don't y'all think that the Democrats controlling California would make sure that the fires would not be ablaze? Like, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we did right by y'all, and y'all need to do right by those that are in California, and we need not play games with people's lives, because that is not the Christian thing if you really want to rely on your Christianity.
Perfectly put. We'll leave it there. Congresswoman, thanks for taking the time today. Sorry for the fact that you were the latest target of Nancy Mace's, eventual fundraising plea, but appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
I appreciate you.